So one scenario I get so often with clients is I've got a company and I want to transfer out the motor vehicle that's in the company. Now that could be because you're closing the company, or maybe even you've got a car in the company that still has a lot of value in it, but you don't want in the company because you want to replace that. I don't know. Whatever the scenario is, it doesn't really matter. But the question is, how do you go and do it? Now, it's not as simple as just going down to Service New South Wales and just transferring the vehicle. Let's assume that there's no finance on the vehicle. So just when you buy any private vehicle from someone else, you wouldn't buy a vehicle with finance on it. Now, the thing is as well is that because you have a company and because you are an individual, we need to basically remember that they are two separate operating entities. So let's like saying there's two people in a room, right? There's you and your company. So that means that whenever we're going to do something like this, we need to treat it at arm's length, which means we need to basically have commercial terms. So if you're going to transfer the vehicle out, the first thing we need to do is we need to get a value of that car. Now, how do you get a value? Now, you could go to something like Redbook. I probably would recommend something a little bit better than Redbook to give you a valuation that's online, but it's a good starting point. But the next thing I'd do is I'd probably ask maybe a car dealer or someone in the finance game understands cars, motor vehicles, the cost of them, maybe someone who buys and sells cars, to put a value and to write down what that is. And the reason you need that, and the reason that's so, is because you need to be able to substantiate to the ATO that you've done that arm's length transaction. So, okay, then what is the true cost to you as the company when you transfer that vehicle out? Now, with most clients, especially with the last few years of depreciation, there's a lot of motor vehicles or assets that you've had that you've been able to depreciate 100%. So in this scenario here, we've got a car at 46,929 and it's been fully depreciated. Now that means that in the books, we've claimed all the depreciation and the value on the books, the written down value claimed is zero. But that also means that when you go and sell an asset, that you're now claimed depreciation, but now you're getting money in the company, so therefore there's an actual gain. So in this scenario here, when you go and sell the vehicle, I'm assuming you're registered for GST as well, you're selling something, so you're gonna have to include GST. So let's assume that you got your valuation, it's 24,200 is what the car's valued at. Now, 1/11th of that would be GST, so you would include that in your next BAS. Now the next thing is the difference between the 24 and the 2,200 is 22 grand. So that $22,000 is now assessable to your company. So tax at 25% would be 5,500. And then the total cost of the company is going to be 7,700. Now there's other costs as well, but guys, these are the considerations you need to think about when transferring a vehicle out of your company to your own name. The market value of the car that we were transferring was 24,200. So then what is the actual cost to that related party who's actually buying it, right? That could be a director, could be a shareholder, maybe it could be your son, I don't know, maybe someone related in the family. But effectively, when you buy a motor vehicle, right, it's a new owner, there's no discrimination that you bought it from a related company, anything like that, there's going to be stamp duty. So in New South Wales, I'm saying based on the calculator on the Service New South Wales website, it said that $726 of stamp duty would be payable. So effectively, if the car's being purchased and the person buying was just to transfer cash for that purchase to the company, the total cost really to the person buying it is going to be $24,200 to the company, then also some stamp duty, which comes to just under $25,000, so $24,926. But let's get to reality of what is actually going to happen. You don't have that cash lying around. That means that basically we've still got this sale, so then you personally, because you've purchased the vehicle, you still got to do the transfer of the vehicle, right? But it means that you're borrowed or you've got a loan now with your company. So how does that loan then look? Now, this is the short version, but this would basically fall most likely under a Division 7A. But effectively, when you are a related party are borrowing money from your company, you need to treat that transaction at arm's length commercial, right? So basically, it's just like you borrowing money from a bank, but you borrowed money from your own company. So in that scenario, like if we would have to use every year the ATO benchmark rate to determine what the interest on that loan would be. So I'm assuming that for 7 years under a Div 7A loan, that the interest rate would be 8.77 every year. But then that also means that there would be repayments you've got to make, right? So those repayments, they could be actual cash loan repayments that you're making, or it could be even just income that goes in your return. If you want to know about Div 7A, go back to one of my previous videos. But effectively, it would mean that the $24,000 to $24,200 is paid back. There's also interest of $9,199 over that term. There's also the original stamp duty. So overall, that total cost of transferring the motor vehicle is $34,125 if you did it under a loan scenario. Okay, so let's summarize what it all looks like for the company, the person who's buying the car. So in this scenario, what are the costs to both entities, both parties, right? So to the company, right? There's, remember, $2,200 of GST. That is payable in the quarter that you've sold the car, right? So that will be in that next BAS, and that will be payable when your BAS is due. And the next thing is, whenever that sale occurred, whatever financial year, when you do your company tax return, there would be that assessable income there, and that would then be taxed at whatever the gain is. We said it was 5,500. That would be tax that you would pay once that company tax return is due. In addition to that, we did say that in all likely scenarios that it is likely that if the car is not paid with cash and it is effectively a Division 7A loan agreement between you and the related party, or the company and the related party, that there is interest on that loan. Now, over that, let's assume it's a 7-year loan, over that 7 years, there would be interest of $9,199 at 25% tax. It would mean that there's $2,300 of tax that over the next 7 years, your company's going to be paying. In saying that as well, I'm also assuming that loan repayment means that there's cash coming in the business. So hopefully, if that's the case, you're going to have that interest income there, which will then pay for that tax. But otherwise, you're going to have to find, if you don't have those regular repayments coming in, you're going to have $2,300 of tax payable over those 7 years. So over those 7 years, the total cost of transferring that car effectively is $10,000. But let's also think about, what about that related party? What's the impact to them? Let's not worry about the principal cost of the car, but if there was a loan agreement in place, and I haven't included the stamp duty here, but that would be another cost. But if we focus just on the interest component, interest over that 7 years would be $9,199. And look, if you think about, like, if you were to use that motor vehicle for business purposes and you were able to make it a tax deduction, that interest would also be tax deductible. So assuming 100% of that motor vehicle was being claimed in your personal tax return, because you can claim it, there would be a tax benefit, assuming your tax rate is 32%, roughly, of $2,944 over those 7 years. So then the total cost to that related party is $6,255. Guys, any questions about transferring a vehicle out of your company? Leave comments, ask questions below.